The WHRO is a public media organization that covers the Hampton Roads region. We provide educational services for the entire state. We now have 5 TV stations, 5 radio stations. We're doing humanities work. And of course, our newsroom started up about 4 years ago.
VCIJ is a statewide investigative journalism newsroom.
A few years ago, we had the opportunity to merge and to become part of the WHRO family.
We focus on statewide issues that'll have an impact. We recently did a series with ProPublica that looked at public universities and their acquisition of land. The General Assembly approved a measure to form a study commission to look into what has happened in Black communities around public universities.
We launched Cardinal News in the fall of 2021 to tell the stories of Southwest and Southside Virginia. Stories weren't being told anymore about these communities simply because of where they live.
In Patrick County, they've been without healthcare services for about 5 years now. Covering that situation has helped the local government as well as community members.
VPM News reporter Megan Pauley did an extensive series on student debt. Her reporting on that topic led to specific, direct changes at the legislative level.
After August 12th, 2017, not only Charlottesville, but the world needed to see collaboration. That's the nucleus of what brought these 3 entities together under CIM. You have a legacy media organization in Charlottesville Tomorrow. You have a historic organization started as a newsletter that became digital media in Vinegar Hill. And then you have radio and podcast, which is In My Humble Opinion.
We had a tent community that sprung up in the middle of Charlottesville. This story that we did that highlighted the perspectives of the people who were living in that community and why they lived there is influencing the way the city is approaching this issue.
The biggest project that we had was the Determined series. Focus on the non-medical and medical factors that contribute to community wellness and health.
First Person Seville, we had a young lady. She's been wheelchair bound since she was a child. Her and her family actually received emails and calls from our local government wanting to know what can they do to make life better for her and like individuals.
Foothills Forum is a nonprofit, community-supported journalism organization that works with the local weekly, the Rappahannock News, and we supply stories and graphics and video that helps them as they produce their weekly paper.
We have a robust news and information enterprise that is focused on public service in this region, up and running. Now let's grow it.
I think Central Virginia deserves a newsroom of 30 people, 30 journalists, an organization of 50. I get like 100 emails a day. And the hardest thing we do every day is deciding what important thing not to cover.
Every week, I'll get an email from mothers in Lynchburg concerned about what's happening in the public schools. People in North Carolina concerned what's happening at the state government level. These are places that we can't get to because we simply don't have the reporters to do that.
If I could wave a magic wand and it could be whatever I like, we would have more journalists on the ground working at a local level.
We keep being asked to do more as Legacy keeps contracting. I mean, the number of the communities we cover now don't even have a daily paper. So we have a new 5-year plan, and we have just decided that we will be, that old-fashioned term, the paper of record for our region.
We want to get people in the community. We're thinking of like a community cohort to learn about journalism. How do we build a cohort for people to learn and be able to practice their skills using our platforms?
I think the question before all of us is, what is the future business model for news? Sitting in public media, I think we actually have a good answer for that, and it comes from philanthropic and individual giving. People valuing journalism and local news as important to keeping the community strong, for them to understand their communities and their neighbors, and giving money to support that.
We're so appreciative of the importance that our funders have placed on building information and news for everyone.
When you have a strong team of local journalists, they can go in with community knowledge and grab somebody's life experience and hear their story and add some context to it that can really make a difference.
I think that we're going to continue to innovate, and we're going to create things that are really going to change the landscape of what media looks like, not just in Charlottesville and the region, but in the country.
Nonprofit journalism is the business model that increasingly foundations will have an obligation to support local news operations. It's that critical to having well-informed communities.
What journalists do makes a difference. And time again, story after story, it's changing the world.
So philanthropy has traditionally supported institutions like arts and culture institutions, maybe museums or colleges and universities that are certainly the bedrock of our society. But journalism hasn't been valued in that same way. And what you see happening now is the for-profit model for journalism collapsing. And when that happens, local newspapers across this country are dying. And if you look at data will show that communities that don't have newspapers are more polarized, citizens are not engaged, maybe citizens don't actually vote, and no one's holding truth to power. So then the question is, who's going to hold those democratic institutions together? So I believe that news should be worthy of those larger philanthropic gifts, because if we're not giving to news and news institutions, then we might not have those other institutions that we're used to giving to, they might not be there anymore.